Rainer Maria Rilke is born in Prague, where his mother's family is quite well off. In his early years, she raises him in her grief as if he were her departed infant daughter, dressing and treating him as a girl. Although in adulthood he is distinctly a cisgendered heterosexual, I wonder if this cognitive dissonance as a child helps him develop the introspection and observing stance on life that shows up in this poem and so many others of his. I'm going to read the whole thing again for you. My eyes already touch the sunny hill, going far beyond the road I have begun. So we are grasped by what we cannot grasp. It has an inner light, even from a distance, and changes us even if we do not reach it, into something else, which hardly sensing it, we already are. A gesture waves us on, answering our own wave. But all that we feel is the wind in our faces. I find this piece psycho-spiritually astute, and on my first reading, there's a ping of resonance within me, meaning that I understood immediately, though not in detail, what Rilke is saying, and that his experience, written in the poem, echoes something within my experience. I bring it to you today because it helps me remember my longing and my call towards a deeper, more spiritual life. My hope is that it may do the same for some of you individually, and perhaps all of you as a congregation. Looking at it more closely, a little bit of line by line, to me, the sunny hill reflects hope, happiness, purpose, and fulfillment. That's where the sun, illumination, sustenance, inspiration, meets the heart's longing. The hill feels like an attainable place, a real place. There's a sense that we could be there, indeed must get there, even though it's far beyond the road we have begun. And note that we have begun on the road. Something earlier, not written in the poem, perhaps never even put into words, has already led us to that road. So we are grasped by what we cannot grasp. There are two senses of the word grasp here. We are grasped, feels virtually physical, like a tractor beam, if a fictional idea can be thought of as physical. Something is holding on to us, pulling us. What we cannot grasp feels cognitive or psychological. We don't understand rationally what it is, but we know it in some other way. It has an inner light, so not just the photons of sunlight, but something radiating or glowing from the metaphorical hill itself, from the goal or the lure of it. And the inner light changes us even if we don't reach it. Aha, the desire, the movement, the reaching ahead is part of the purpose, not just the arrival there. If we can use the word backstory for a poem, there's a hint that earlier there wasn't movement, but perhaps there was blocked desire or even self-ignorance. But something got us started, and we're different just from perceiving something ahead. We're changed into something else, something different from what we've been aware of before. We were unaware of it, but hardly sensing it. We are different already. As a brief aside, Rilke for a few years is in a relationship with Lou Andreas Salome, who's one of Freud's first analytic patients, and then she becomes an analyst herself. So undoubtedly, Rilke is aware of the unconscious as it's understood at that time, which he's probably including here in this thing within ourselves that we hardly sense. Why would he not be thinking of that? It's tempting for some probably to say that the whole poem is just about the unconscious, and that could be a satisfying way to approach it for some. But Rilke writes so much symbolism of something outside the self, something greater, more knowing. And I'm convinced that he is describing what's best called spirit, or grace, or a God of one's understanding. A gesture waves us on. It's an influence, action, or attraction that is outside us. Even if it also answers our own wave, already we're welcoming this force we have barely a conception of. Something in us recognizes what's happening, or has subtly or deeply anticipated it, yearned for it. And there it is. Here it is. Light, beauty, the lure. Yet there's a but. All that we feel is the wind in our faces, not a breeze, not a fragrant whiff, but wind. There is resistance, effort, persistence, determination will be required. Steps must be taken. And after all, it is a hill we will need to climb. Putting all that together, I read this poem as being about a spiritual life, a life of striving forward, upward, towards betterment, towards more giving. A brief version of my call story, the path that in fact led me to being with you today in the end, ultimately, begins decades ago with a period of deep unhappiness during my freshman year. My mother tells me years later that I wrote frequently about waffling between going to medical school or becoming a United Church minister. I still don't remember that at all. But I do remember a spiritual yearning for a believable faith in a God that makes sense to me. That yearning leads me to the Baha'i faith at age 18, which I've mentioned to your congregation before. And my time as a Baha'i is another whole story. My obstinate and immovable sexuality leads me out of that beautiful but demanding religion. And my spiritual yearning morphs, or should I say, deforms. And this is all stage one, the period in which, hardly sensing it, I'm already seeking the sunny hill. Another story for another time is that I end up in recovery from drug addiction, which they tell me is often a result of spiritual conflict, morphed or deformed, as I said. 12-step spirituality, so much about acceptance and making things right, becomes my religion and remains a significant part of the beliefs and practices that sustain me. This is stage two, because I actually begin on the road, the 12-step road and beyond. Stage three begins with another depression and time of consternation about what to do with my life, now clean and sober, but unfulfilling. Practicing my profession of psychiatry from that basis is exhausting. But one day, when praying again after a long period of rejecting God, as I understand it, I have a profound epiphany, an outflow of grace that transforms my heart. I don't know what to do with this yet. And then my father dies quickly from a wrongly diagnosed cancer. Well, that's it for psychiatry. I take down my shingle and head home to Fredericton, where I have other relatives who might die unexpectedly. Now, I have seen the sunny hill, but have already felt the wind. There, in my hometown, I finally attend a Unitarian Universalist Sunday service after literally decades of thinking I might someday. And I feel immediately at home in its atmosphere. During the sermon, a thought goes through my head, I could become a UU minister. And I figuratively slap myself in the face for the arrogance of it. Yet 1 year later, I'm talking to the minister there, making my own wave, and her gesture waves me on to go to seminary. But again, there's a lot of wind to face after that. I get it now. Wind is simply a given. No avoiding it. So now to you as a congregation. As a whole, starting long before most of us were alive, but also individually living through your stories, you, Toronto First, begin hearing your call, feeling your lure to begin moving. Get on the road, face the wind, whether it comes from pain from the past, hardship, grief, and even real obstacles in the present, or uncertainty and anxiety about the future. The call is to face the wind and climb. You see a sunny hill far ahead of you. It might go behind a cloud at times, but you see the sunny hill. Focusing on it or gazing repeatedly at it is a comfort and a challenge. Your goal and purpose is to be there, but your fulfillment and growth comes with being on your way there. In this moment now, you are on your way. You are becoming fulfilled and you are growing on the road towards the sunny hill. Wave at it. Let it wave back.